We're going to try out. If y'all know, y'all can sing it with me, okay? I think Chris Brown wrote this song, I don't know. I was born by the river. Come on, somebody. In a little tent. And oh, just like the river I've been running. If I can get just 3 people to sing the song, y'all know, come on. It's been a long. But you what? But I know a change gonna come. Oh, it's so crazy because I've been thinking for myself for a while. Just this out. It's been too hard living. But I'm afraid to die, 'cause we don't know what's up there. If you can sing it to your best friend, don't be embarrassed. Come on. It's been a long. Come on. But I know a change gonna come. Oh, it's so crazy because this will happen last week. Let me tell you something. So I go to the movies, then I go downtown, and all I keep hearing is, boy, what? Don't hang around. It's been a long, beloved, a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. You know what's crazy? Because this what happened 2 days ago. Check this out. This what happened. So I go to what's up, my brother? And I say 3 words to my brother. I say to my brother, I say what? Help me, please. Oh. Then he winds up knocking me. Oh, well, somebody know, back down on my knees. Oh, now there's been times when I thought I wasn't gonna last too long, but right now I feel like we're able, yeah, to carry on. Last time singing, it's been a long time coming, hey, but I know a change gonna come. I need you to do me one last favor. Make some noise because we're in the midst of a change right now. Make some noise right now because we're in the midst. Thank you so much. My name is Zion Ali. I appreciate you so much. Let's get ready for this astronomical discussion. Let's do it.
Thank you, man. Good evening, everyone. I want to say thank you all for coming out. You could be anywhere in the world, but you decided to come and be a part of this game-changing conversation. But before we start, I want to introduce Secretary of State of Illinois, Alexi Giannoulias. Can you come up real quick?
No, perfect. Well, good evening, everyone. You have a high-powered panel here, so I'll get out of here. And I know we're here to have fun, and it's a holiday weekend, and it's a special time of remembrance. But I think it's really important for all of us to remember, no matter what you do, we all have a role to serve somebody, to serve your family, to serve your community. If you're an elected official, to serve everyone in your district or in your state or in your ward. One of my favorite Martin Luther King Jr. quotes of all time is, everybody can be great because anyone can serve. So let's not forget those words. Let's focus on service this weekend and into the future. I'm honored to be here. I love you guys. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, State Rep, Brother Giannoulias. So I'm going to open up with some opening remarks. Again, my name is LaRon Tate. I'm 1/3 of the Tate brothers, Lorenz and Lamar. You will hear me talk about those brothers because as they are not here, they are still with me. So let's get into it. I want to make this, again, like I said, more conversational so we can have a real conversation and dialogue so that everybody can hear. We're dealing with one mic, so we're going to pass this around. Of course, this is Dr. King's weekend. I want to start by saying that Dr. King's vision of the beloved community was not sentimental or passive. It was bold, disruptive, and deeply practical. Today, that vision feels more urgent and more challenged than ever amid racial injustice, economic inequality, educational inequity, and normalized violence. This moment calls for moral imagination and responsibility. The beloved community is not a destination. It's a daily practice. It asks the real questions of who's left out, who's unheard, and what does love look like when it shows up as policy, investment, education, and opportunity. My brothers Lorenz and Lamar and I were born on the west side of Chicago. We some west side guys, not to disrespect south side, but we on the west side guys. There you go. That's how I know I'm in Chicago. We start claiming sides. I love that. So our parents, we get listen, north side, east side, really, are we okay with that? Yeah, I'm on the lake now. we moved on up. But coming from the west side, our parents, they instilled in us a deep sense of responsibility to give back. We use our Tapeman Entertainment production company, our Tape Brothers nonprofit foundation, not just to reflect Chicago, but to serve it. I believe that storytelling and media and can you hear me? I believe that storytelling, media, and culture are critical tools for building the beloved community by shaping narratives and expanding empathy and lifting voices too often ignored. What excites me tonight is the conversation that brings together different paths, but to the same goal. Let's be clear. None of us can build the beloved community alone. Let's just start there. It's going to take it takes a village. Tonight's panel brings together voices from government, corporate and political advocacy, and nonprofit and civil rights traditions, each representing different but important prospects and perspectives of how to build that beloved community. These leaders, these amazing three leaders, may reflect different lived experiences and spheres of influence, but they share a commitment to justice, dignity, and collective progress. Tonight, we will explore how the beloved community shows up today in city halls, in boardrooms, in classrooms, in neighborhoods, in movements and institutions. And most importantly, how each of us, regardless of title and platform, can be builders of it. That said, I'd like to introduce my brother from a different mother, Alderman Red Burnett. Again, I have just got to step out real quick and just say that I met this young man with his father, Senior Burnett. And when I first met him, he didn't quite know which direction he was going to go because the world was at his feet. This brother was capable of doing it all. And one of the conversations that we had with his father, my brother and I, was, well, what about legacy? And he was talking about, hey, man, I'm thinking about this is Big Walter. And I was like, well, who's going to fill that void? And he wouldn't say. So I go take a meeting with Walter thinking I was meeting his father. This is just 3 days ago. And I walk in, and I'm like, okay, my buddy was like, our partner for Film Fest is Troy Pryor, good guy. Troy was like, yeah, we meeting Walter Burnett. And I'm thinking I'm about to go meet the dad. And Walter walks out, and I was like, okay, all right, okay, cool. Walter's here, great. What's up, bro? We go in the back, and it felt surreal because I had been in the office many a time. And I was like, what the hell? There was a unique situation where Walter walked behind the desk and sat down, and then it hit me. He's the man. What also hit me was his daddy took all the photos off the wall and just left holes in the wall. Which says to me, it is important that Walter charts his own path and that he put the photos and the memories of what's to come for the future, the near future, for his ward. So I'm going to say congratulations on your appointment as alderman of the 27th ward. As the youngest member of the Chicago City Council, you represent a rising generation of leadership. Well deserved. From your vantage point, what does the beloved community look like in Chicago today, and where do you see the greatest opportunity to move Dr. King's vision from principle into practice?
Man, well, first of all, thank you for the wonderful introduction. It's been an honor to get to know you and your family over the last 3 or so years, 4 years, going on 4 years. How much great work you do, and not only just our community, but across the world. So I'm super honored to be in your presence, super honored to be on this panel. I think it's any black elected official's bucket list to speak on a Rainbow Push panel during Martin Luther King Day weekend. So thank you all for having me here. It's truly an honor. And as he hinted at, I come from a different background. My family was all in politics, in community service and the service world. I chose to go a different route when I graduated from college. I went to New York to seek information, to learn what it means to be in the financial world and how economics impacts our broader lives. Coming from the west side of Chicago, very proud of that. We have a lot of icons in different mediums and ways. I was just at the Martin Luther King Jr. Boys and Girls Club for a mural opening on Friday. And you saw images of Isaiah playing basketball at that center. And you always see the Tate brothers everywhere. You know, you can't watch any Black history film without the honoring of their legacy. But the economic piece was missing from our community in a deep way. And it was something that I sought out so that we can understand how we can protect ourselves in a way that Dr. King wanted 60 years ago. Information is power. Information is currency. At this point in time, I think data is still more valuable than oil. And that's saying something, because our communities, a beloved community, is a community that is sharing information with each other. How are we learning from each other? How are we learning from our history? And at a time when there's so many distractions, how are we making sure that our people are educated about what's the important messages to pass along? And so from my perspective, from my vantage point, my role as an elected is to make sure that we are passing along the information to our community so that they feel protected and know what's going on. Not just how to do something, but why it's important to do it and how do we do it together. Building that collective knowledge base so that we can continue to work together. And there's so much that's going on in our government right now, from a national level to a state level to a city level. And it's hard to sift through all the weeds. So I'm utilizing this role as an opportunity to be a microphone for both my community in the sense of what we need and what we desire, but also on the flip side from the government perspective on how we're trying to help. And even if that means we're trying to help in a certain way, if the community doesn't feel it, then that doesn't mean we help in the right way. And it's my job to go back to the force of that be and say, nah, what you intended to do isn't happening in the way that it's supposed to. So I'm just really excited to be in this role, to be able to communicate on behalf of my people on the west side and the south side, north side, and those folks who live in the lake on the east side too. But it's really a blessing to be here, and excited to hone that legacy of a beloved community.
Thank you all for being patient with this one mic thing, but we're going to make this work like we do at the family functions. So I do understand exactly what the goal is and what, you and I have talked about what it looks like for the future. And again, I think the 27th Ward and all the things that your dad began, I think you're the bridge to the next generation to, kind of speak to the things that the community needs going forward. It's one thing to run the race, but it's another when you got to hand the baton off. And I think your dad did the right thing by handing it off and pushing for you to be that voice. I think when we speak the legacy, the Jackson family is a prime example of what that is, and having the honor to sit down with Jonathan Jackson, Rep. Jonathan Jackson on the Hill, incredible. The family, I'm a big proponent for nepotism. All right, I am. In my industry, people that don't look like us, and this is not anti anything. These are just facts. They always take care of their own. You said it. And what happens is when we're doing workforce development, and that's one of the things that we want to get into with our family, is bringing jobs back to the city and equipping the individuals with the opportunity to make a living, which will definitely bring down part of the beloved community, bring down the crime in the communities that seems to get all the attention when we know that there are youth. 90% of the youth are doing right, but it's glamorous to highlight the 10% of the low vibration to make us look like we ain't doing what we doing, So, and I look at it and I say, this brother right here is a prime example of something coming out of the West Side and leading himself to something greater. That said, I want to move on to Miss Ariel Maffei. Now, Ariel, you work in a space and place that I'm going to allow you to kind of get a moment to kind of explain. But your work sits at an intersection of corporate responsibility, public policy, and advocacy. My question for you is, how do you see the role of private sector in advancing the beloved community, particularly when it comes to the economic access, mobility, and opportunity?
Well, thank you so much for having me on this panel, and for all of you for being here tonight. This is my little secret. I'm actually not originally from Chicago. I'm originally from Miami. And I just want to say so much of beloved community for me is our chosen family. So to be welcomed here in the city, in the state of Illinois, and to be able to do what I do, I just am so grateful to all of you for letting me into the village and for supporting me as I give back to our community. And I think that's what makes Chicago so beautiful to me, is that I feel like people really come together to support one another in a way that, quite frankly, and I've lived in a lot of places, I've never seen before. And it is really unique and exciting to be in a place where I feel like we are at the precipice of something so wonderful. I mean, we look at what's happening in our city, and the fact that crime has gone down, the fact that we are working together on economic opportunity, the fact that we are coming together, whether you're black, brown, white, it doesn't matter. We are coming together as one community. So to get to the work that I get to do, I'm a lobbyist, which could be a dirty word for some people, but I own it. Because I think lobbying can be a really great thing. I think we can use those powers for good. I see some fellow lobbyists in the room, and I applaud the work that you do, and I want to uplift that work because we have an opportunity to expand, right, on policies that help our own folks, right, and to think about, especially you talk about workforce development. I work at Lyft, the rideshare company, right? And so we help people make money on the side, work around their schedules, have that flexibility. And I think it's so exciting to be a part of a workplace where I can help support people live out their dreams. You know what I mean? I also love the work that we get to do. We have something called Force for Good, which is a lot of our community programming. We give ride codes to job interviews. We support community programming. So those are the things when you think about mobility and transportation. I didn't have a car growing up, right? My mom was a teacher. We couldn't afford a car in Miami. Try taking the bus to school, to work, to doctor's appointments. I think about how rideshare could have revolutionized our life growing up. And so to have this opportunity to be a part of a place that can truly change people's lives, both riders getting to doctor's appointments safely, getting people home safely, to drivers who now have new earning opportunities. It's a really exciting place to work, and I'm really grateful for it. And so I think corporate responsibility to me when building a beloved community is, again, expanding on opportunities, really looking at the communities we live in, and it's not a one-size-fits-all. It's just not. I represent 13 states in the great United States of America, and every one of those states is different. And I had to learn to work with legislators in those areas all the way down to the local level, because local level, the municipalities where things really get done. So thank you all for the work that you do at the city. We have passed a budget, so, we're here. But that's how I see corporate really feeding into that, is working with government and working through policies that benefit our communities.
Well, I want that Lyft hookup. We all do. No, that is amazing that, you can find a way to intersect what typically, and I'll revert everything back to what it is that we do because it's what I know. Typically, we don't get a chance to meet the corporate world. It is always that arm's length distance that, the common folk, if you will, are put at, where they don't get a chance to hear or get their voices heard from the people that, use said service every day. So it is nice to know that you all are community driven and that you're aware and you're connecting with the local representatives, because that's important. And as long as you keep that pipeline and that dialogue open, I think it's going to always be successful. I'm going to move on to this young lady next to me. When I talk about legacy and the shoulders in which we all stand on, individuals, I think I can say her family. I'll start particularly with her grandfather, if I'm not mistaken, the Honorable Reverend Jesse Jackson. And what this man has done for the nation, what he has done for us individually and for the city of Chicago, and what he's meant to us, what your family has meant to us. It is an honor to have you be a part of this and be the next game changer of the Jackson empire. If y'all want to look at what a family unity looks like that ain't on that BS, look here. Look right here. This is what it's about. When I go back, handing the baton off and running through the tape. This is the next generation. So when I am privileged and they asked me to be a part of this, I was like, look, I'm not Lorenzo Lamar. I don't have the face card. And they were like, no, you're the one. Thank you, Kelsey. And I was just like honored because I knew who I would be interviewing and talking to. So Sky, you carry a powerful civil rights legacy while also forging your own path through nonprofit and literacy work, which is, I can only imagine what that entails. So how do you personally interpret the beloved community for this generation, and what responsibility do you feel to both honor and evolve that legacy?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be here. And it's just an honor to be next to all of you. And thank you, Kelsey, as well, for putting me on this. So I'm going to do the most classic Gen Z thing, which is to read from my iPhone. But I run a nonprofit called Handwoven Youth, and we operate nationally with volunteers where we choose a new school once a month and donate a set of about 100 books to that school. And I've now been doing it for 2 years, and it has just been so impactful for me and for all the students, and I'm really excited to get more into that later on with more questions. But when I think of beloved community, I really think of collective change, especially with regards to grassroots advocacy. But I think when I was considering this question, what really struck me was just how different it feels like MLK, the time that MLK was living in versus what we're living in now with regards to social media, and how that has really shifted how my generation and every other generation now, honestly, is operating with regards to information and how we're engaging together. And so I think what social media has done that has been really powerful is really expose what has been going on, especially internationally, in regards to the famine in Sudan, the war in Ukraine, genocide in Gaza, and that's been really powerful. And I also think it has started now to expose the truth of what's going on in our streets, and I don't want to miss or lose the importance of our local community efforts, which is why I'm so grateful to be next to y'all today, just because I think sometimes it's easier to focus on what's going on internationally versus what's going on at home. And social media also really flattens that extremist view and doesn't really show a clear picture of exactly
1 2 1 2
Perfect.
1 2 1 2.
Hold it up here. Okay, perfect. Yeah, it just doesn't give a clear picture in terms of that full context, but what can and what does is literature. And there's so many books out there that we can engage with that might take a bit more than opening your phone and doing that doom scroll. And not to say that social media isn't a valuable tool, but I really encourage us all to consider looking and going into our bookstores or ordering a book online and delivering it to your door is also totally fine, just because there are there are thousands of books that kind of give this historical context, and when you think about it, social media is just so new. So anytime I try to look something up past like 2010, I just realize the information is just like not even there. And so that's what I've been personally working on. And I think what I really love about Dr. King's beloved community principles are things like universal love, justice and equity, resolving things peacefully and communicating, working nonviolently. And I think that we've seen a lot of nonprofits these days kind of putting a Band-Aid on just what's going on in this country. And I think that what's really interesting is that we'll start to see more, unfortunately, but fortunately at the end of the day, because I think it will be more positive in the long run, is more self-sustaining communities. So potentially neighborhood doctors and food pantries have been popping up left and right. But again, these are Band-Aid solutions, but I think it will be something that our community members will be forced to turn to. And I do think that it's important for us to communicate and find common ground, but I also think, I was explaining to my dad this earlier, I was like, well, if my neighbor is someone who's getting dressed up in tactical gear and shooting someone in cold blood every day, I'm not sure I want to have that conversation. So I think there are principles within beloved community that are important, but I think it's also to think about, without MLK or without Malcolm X and Fred Hampton, we also need MLK. So this is a collective effort that has a lot of different moving parts to get to where we need to be.
Yeah. Well, it's clear that the apple don't fall too far from the tree up in the house. I say, one, the fact that you're working in a literacy space is important, considering what they're doing with the books in the schools and, banning everything. And, for those who remember what an encyclopedia is, tell my age. In this day of information, is so much information. I think what happens is we get overwhelmed, and the real quality stuff doesn't really always get through. So what you're doing is amazing, and I think we applaud you, and continue doing exactly what you're doing. Your nonprofit is important. That's real work. Red, I'm gonna get back to you. You've worked alongside people from many different walks of life, inside and outside of the government. From that vantage point, how do you think local government should create space for everyday residents to be co-builders of the beloved community, not just recipient of policy?
Yeah, it's an important question. I toggle with this idea that what is government's role in the way that we live? How are we influencing people to make their decisions? And especially with a national government that is so forceful in the way that they are pushing their beliefs on our society in a way that isn't typical to our structure and through our history, where everything he's doing is questioned because of the way he goes about it. How do we at a local level give that power back to the people? We are having this conversation about literacy, about what we read, information. We are so diluted because there's so much out there. And oftentimes it's not our people who are educating each other, it's what's on their algorithm. And some of that is because we don't give our people space and time to connect with each other on a level where they can pass down the important traditions, histories, and lessons that got them to where they are or protect them from bad actors. I had this question or this problem come up with a friend. We were discussing what does the legacy of Martin Luther King mean today? And someone mentioned reading the letters of Birmingham and understanding what he was going through in that moment and who he was. And I struggled. I'm like, I don't know how many kids these days they don't even know what the letters of Birmingham are. Nor do they know the struggle in which Martin Luther King really went through to get to where he is. And some of that is on myself, on our peer set, to continue to have those conversations and change the dialogue about what does it mean to actually have action and how are we creating this space to have that conversation. So a lot of my focus when I think about government's role in giving the community space is what are we doing to give them time to get together? Everything is, and this isn't a knock on Lyft, but the privatization of space has mean that people of color have less opportunity to gather in a way that they can talk about what's important to read, what books help them get through hard times, what messages really resonate to protect those generations and the next generation. So a lot of my goal is figuring out how do you create that space, both physically and mentally, for the people to commune again and build a society that works for them and not have government tell them how they should live.
Yeah, that's deep. I think one of the things that we have to do is learn how to gather and communicate again. We are, a lot of people are, I want to say, what are they, computer warriors or screen warriors that sit behind screens, and there's a huge disconnect that I think a generation is enduring that is playing a major role in all of this. And so I'm going to ask, and this is kind of going off topic real quick, give me an idea of how do we solve that. We're always into some solutions. A lot of times we're governed, people are governing us, and they never bother to ask the community, what's the solution? So I'm going to piggyback on that, and I'm going to come to you after this, Ariel. What are some of the solutions? I'm going to ask you, Sky, what do you think some of the solutions, and then pass it along?
Yes. So I think that what's going to be really important, I already mentioned this a bit, is like self-sustaining communities, and that includes things like urban planning in a way that really encourages communities to gather and get together. So that's one tangible effort. And also there's a great organization called Healthy Hood, which is on in Pilsen, and by the Lozano family, and they are amazing. And what they've really done, I used to intern for them over the summers when I was in high school, and one thing that we did was actually learn about the 5 most preventable diseases that cause premature death. And so we would be trained on things like diabetes and blood pressure, et cetera, and then go to local families' homes and actually screen them for these diseases and support them and get help. And the way that they found this was actually by going to Cuba every year. So they called it the I keep screwing up the mic. But yeah, they called it the Cuban method. And so there's a lot to learn as well from other types of communism communities that we can bring to our communities now.
Yeah, Healthy Hood is a great example because right now we still have people who are fighting for the basic necessities, right? Food and safety. It's hard to think about the greater existential crises when you're just worried about the next meal. And there are things that we can do to help make sure that people have a baseline that we need to work on as a society. And some of that comes from accessibility to food, the planning point, right? Like you go to the west side of Chicago, there's one grocery store basically for the entire west side of Chicago. That's Pete's. It's a food desert. So we don't have the basic necessities that allow people to think on another level. So one of the solutions is making sure people are properly fed. And things, to Scott's point, we got to plan our communities better so that we have more accessibility. But getting to know each other, let's be in the community. People should know each other again. My aunties and my aunties' cousins and their friends used to be on my butt when I was down the street. And every time I was with my cousins and we did something that might not have been the right thing to do, they let us know. We are missing a bit of that connected community because we're scared. We're scared of what happens and who's on our block, and some of that's familiarity. So both the food and figuring out how we get comfortable around each other again and gather again, as you said.
I love that. I think for me, and this is the nerdiest answer you're probably going to get, I think civics education needs to make a real comeback. Because what Dr. King did was use his political acumen and make government work for him. And I think people right now are so intimidated by the system, when in reality, the system is supposed to be working for all of us. And so I think civics education in schools and starting them young and really helping folks understand that, like, government is not this big, scary thing, right? Like, you can run for office. You can call your elected official. You can go help a nonprofit. All these things are part of what, to me, build a beloved community. And so that would be my big, if I won the lottery tomorrow, I would fund civics education.
Thank you all for those incredible solution answers. Just to note, you're right. There is a limited access to quality food on the west side. I think people were going to, at one point, Jules off of Madison. But there is a sister, and her name escapes me. She created and built a grocery store on Soul City corridor, right off of Chicago Avenue and between Austin and Cicero. And it's black owned. Yes, 40 acres. There you go. And I remember when we sat down with that sister when she first was trying to do. We went to the location. We shot something there, and it was important, and for us to understand that if we're not properly nourished, how can you expect a kid to go learn? How can you expect an individual to function on a real level of human? Just, man, society is just, we've gotten away from a lot of things, and I'm just happy that it's something that's being built over in the community, because it's frustrating. And if you guys don't understand my passion for the West Side, it's rooted in family, and we still on the West Side. My family still live there. So as much as we can be in Hollywood and downtown and beautiful Fulton Market, still West Side. They don't realize that. And I have to remind them, this is the West Side. United Center is the West Side. So I'm going to move on and talk to you, Ariel, as a proud Latino leader who has organized, advocated, and led within political systems. What lessons have you learned about building coalitions across differing perspectives, and how does that coalition building reflect Dr. King's vision to create society where a society where everyone has a seat at the table and a voice at the public records?
I love this question. I'm going to change gears, if that's okay, for a little bit. I have done a lot of reproductive rights work, and I currently sit on the National Planned Parenthood Federation Board, and I was most recently chair of the Planned Parenthood of Illinois Board. And here's my big takeaway from all these years of work in this space and being a Latina in that space, is that and I'm sure a lot of people will relate to this, a lot of times we get asked to share our story, which is great, to be able to provide testimony about our lived experience. But it is very different to bring people then to the table and have them be the ones that help build the strategy and make the decisions, right? We're always at, tell me your story. Tell me what's going on. That's great. But now can I be a part of the decision-making for the community that I'm a part of? And so I think, look, reproductive rights is at the intersection of so many things, and it's really exciting to be at the table. And, Dr. King talks about that, right? Having a seat at the table. And I think once you have that seat, it's also who you bringing up with you, right? Because it's fantastic that I had that opportunity, but can I bring in other people that have their own unique lived experience that can really help us take a holistic look at an issue? Because if you put 5 people in a room that all grew up the same and do the same topic, you're going to get the same 5 answers, right? But if you bring in that diverse coalition, now you're thinking creatively of like, how can we tackle this? And so for me, it's bringing people to the table and giving them that opportunity to be a part of the decision making. And then the willingness, once you're at the table, to really listen to one another and to have the willingness to be open to expand your own view on something, and to not come to the table and just be stuck in what your perspective is. Really be open to listening. And I think a big part of coalition building is letting go of control and really letting folks come to the table and be in community with one another and share that experience, because, man, we all have stories. And I think every time I hear someone's story, it really opens my eyes to the fact that, like, we all have so much that we've been through. And I think, again, if you bring those to the boardroom, you bring those experiences to a corporate setting, you've changed the game, because people like us don't normally get in those spaces. And so I would just say, if you have that opportunity, please bring up the next person with you too.
So I got a couple more questions, but I think the unique part of this panel is one of the things for me, I'm always the guy, along with my family members, answering the questions. So it's nice to get to ask the questions to the next generation of game changers. And this is what I see. That was one of the things I said. I want to be a part of this because this is the future of the city. And I know we're you look for the stewards, the next stewards of the what's to come. And I'm sitting over here like, damn, we in good hands. We're in real good hands. And, you know, we can continue to talk about, you know, the different polarizations and the distrust of institutions and what that looks like to find ourselves to, you know, allow us to kind of rebuild and kind of close that gap. And that's what essentially what I'm pushing for. Dr. King stressed unity. And right now we're really divided. And that's not by design. I mean, that is by design. That's not by coincidence. That's literally by design. And I want to know, and Chelsea, you got to forgive me. I'm riffing over here. I got to throw it to the side. What change would you like to see next?
That is such a tough question. But I think what I want to see in my world, which is the education space, is that every single child has access to books that they feel like they can not only resonate with for themselves, but also learn something about someone else. And I think that with the family that I'm in, it feels like the opportunities to try to get involved and support are endless. And something that I really had to learn growing into my own and growing into myself is what are the things that I feel like actually I can match my interests to the needs. And so I don't want to let that part go where it feels like there's so much that you want to see changed, so much that you know needs to be changed, but in order to do that, you need to ensure that you're filling your cup up first, and then are able to match it. So yeah, I'm just super grateful to really feel like I'm impacting and changing students' lives by giving them something that feels like so many students have access to, an overabundance of books in their home, and then over 60% of low-income families have no books for their children at home, and over 80% of Chicago public schools have no full-time librarian. So we're in a literacy and education crisis that you mentioned is absolutely intentional, and we know why it's happening. And so nonprofits are that Band-Aid effect, and then it really comes down to America has remained, hopefully, God bless it, will remain a participatory democracy. So I encourage those of us and encourage your friends as well to participate, even though I understand that it feels quite bleak.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head in terms of the participation piece. The change I really want to see is a system that works for us, and not just something we be beholden to. The city of Chicago feels like we have a lot of systems in place that are broken that we don't want to change. And the ones who struggle the most from a failing system are the ones who are failing themselves. And until that change happens, until we start having these tough conversations about the way that we organize our school systems, the way that we utilize our libraries, the way that our corporations engage with the community, things aren't going to be better for the masses. So I really want to see a world where, and I'm happy to play a part in this, where we're reconstructing the system like Dr. King did to work for us. And as much as we want to fight it and say that it's not perfect by any means, we still have to fight for it to be better for us. And I think that's something that's missing in our community right now. We're not fighting enough for our system to work for us. And so I want to see less apathy and more action. And I think the leaders on the stage are about that life. And it's our job to get the next generation to be the forces behind that change. So that's what I want to see.
I'm going to build on that, but I'll be brief. So we talk about corporations, right? And they exist in our everyday life. It is what it is. But I would strongly encourage you to start thinking about where you're spending your money. Because corporations, when they start losing money, they're going to start paying attention. I'm really happy that I went to go work at Lyft. And we have said this, and our CEO has said it publicly. We have not donated to a single January 6th denier. I'll let you do with that information what you will. Our competitor gave $2 million to the inauguration. But people are still spending their money with them. So I say that, well, one, I think we have the better product, but because I genuinely think that if people really showed up with their dollars, these companies would pay real attention real quick. And that's a perfect example of that. So keep doing it.
As you all can see, I was not playing when I said I'm sitting on a stage full of game changers. And the future is bright. You all, in your own respective places and spaces, are definitely a ray of hope and a bright spot in a dark time. And I just want you all to continue to shine, let your light shine, be bold, be brave, be daring, be Dr. King and everything that it embodies what it is that that man stood for, you know. And a beloved community is, essentially my interpretation is, it's a village that we all have to take care of and nourish and put in. You can't make complaints if you ain't got no skin in the game. But everybody, when that lottery hit $1 billion, had their asses out there putting that dollar in there to win that lottery. And it's the same thing. You have to be in it in order to win it. It literally takes a village to raise a child, and it takes that, and there's something about being selfless and wanting to give back and wanting to do well. I always stand on my family. We don't need to be back in the shy. We made it out in people's eyes. We're intentional about being here, and everybody know we from Chicago. Everybody know, and I tell people all the time, tell me what family and entertainment from Chicago boasts about Chicago more than us and do for the city. These are choices. And it doesn't, again, like I said early on, it doesn't matter who you are and what your platform is and where you come from. It's that you make an effort. And that's the key. It's just an effort. And all you have to do is just ask somebody next to you, will you come join me? You'd be surprised how many people roll. I got half of Hollywood looking at us. This city. We doing this intentionally. We building this city up because our goal is to change the narrative. No disrespect for the old block in the communities that are always looked down on and have that negative connotation. But our goal is to let people know that Chicago is a global destination. Hell, we got more championship teams in this city, world championship teams, than people can imagine. We're number one city in for the 9 straight years. So what does it say? You want to tell me, oh, I can't come because I'm scared? That's BS. So what you all are doing is paramount. your work that you do. Again, I say this all the time. If we can help, we help, we will. If we can't, we'll direct you to where you can go. But it's a two-way street. I'm tired of Chicago being a one-way street hookup. Everybody want a one. What can you do for me? No, damn it. What can you do for me? I still need help too. So that said, I'm going to wrap this up with one last question for everybody to kind of finish in and end on. Dr. King called us to move beyond comfort towards action. I'm going to repeat that. Dr. King called on us to move beyond comfort toward action. For people who want to engage but feel overwhelmed by today's political and social climate, what are the tangible ways individuals and institutions can step up as a beloved community builder right now?
I would say to vote, and from the bottom up. Yep. That is really, for real, the most important thing that you can do. And for me, when I think about feeling and being overwhelmed, I think maybe I scrolled too much on the internet today. And how did my grandparents feel in 1969? And then I realized that maybe there's more I can do than I thought I could.
Alderman to have the last word. I think it's start small, start local, start now. Like pick one issue that affects your day-to-day life and just go out and do one thing this month that you feel like can be a tangible thing and just build off that. I did a lot of work with Young Democrats, founded Young Democrats of Chicago, which I am very proud of. And when you go out there and meet these incredible young, like-minded people, that energy is fire, but people don't know where to start. So just pick one thing.
Those are two great answers. I was having a conversation earlier about how important the judges are because they're the ones that can decide your fate, yet people don't have any idea who their judges are. So vote from the... Even the mic don't want us to tell this message. Vote from the bottom up. Start local, because your local community is what impacts you on a day-to-day basis. If that store on your corner fails, that is your burden as much as it is theirs. So we need to support our local businesses and our local people. And my message would be to go hug a child. It takes a village. And we need to take care of our own. Because if we don't, no one else will. And we have to continue to prepare the future generations to make sure that they're prepared for the world that is beyond them. So as much as you can to give back to your local community to make sure that these kids are fed both physically and spiritually, that means the world for anything you can do beyond anything else. Because as we build together, the more power we have. So again, thank you for having me. Thank you for sitting with these wonderful panelists. So I appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Yusef Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Tate. Thank all of you for coming tonight. Just want to give a couple words here about our MLK weekend. First, we call this our MLK weekend at Rainbow Push and Push Excel. So we started this morning at 930 East 50th Street at our Saturday morning forum meeting. Our theme is a beloved community. And then we had this Next Gen event. Let's give a round of applause for our panelists. Let's give a round of applause to LaRon Tate and his brothers and family. Let's give a round of applause for the man who started us off, Reverend Stephen Thurston, a New Cove. He asked me if I wanted that student. I said, nope, and my brother Jonathan does. So, look, I just want to say tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, we'll be at New Covenant Church. We call it New Cove Church now. Reverend Thurston is hosting our interfaith church service. You're welcome to come. 77th and Cottage Grove. Be there a little bit early at 10 o'clock.
at the New Cove Church for our interfaith service. If you've never heard Reverend Stephen preach, you're in for a mighty, mighty service tomorrow. You get you some Christianity, some Jesus, and all the things you're looking for. In addition to, I tell Stephen when he speaks, I need to have a notepad out. It offers you that much information. So we're looking forward to worshiping with you tomorrow, Stephen. Then on Monday, we have our MLK breakfast. If you go to the website, it says it's sold out, but I ask you to please register anyway. If spots open up, we will call you and give you an opportunity to participate Monday morning at the Fairmont Hotel at 8 o'clock in the morning. Monday, 8 o'clock. You can show up at 9 o'clock. 9 to 11 is our breakfast. At 8:30 is our press conference. You will see around the room there are QR codes. Scan to join us. It doesn't cost very much. We do a lot of programs. We do a program every week at 930 East 50th Street. We do programs about once a month. To be a member for us is just $35. Literally, we're dropping a bucket. It's just to show that you care, really. $35, most of us can afford that. And for seniors, I think it's $15. Our pricing hasn't changed in years. Let me offer this about the beloved community. My daughter hit me in the head when I was over at the bar. And forgive me tonight, my mother told me, if I ever have a drink, don't speak. And I'm violating that rule. And this microphone is making it look like I've had more drinks than I have. It's not my fault, right? I just want to paint the picture of what Dr. King saw when he came up with this solution, the means to effect change that he called the beloved community. There are two parts of the beloved community. There's a qualitative part. That's what's in your soul. That's the strategy of loving someone. I said this morning, loving someone means that you respect someone that you may not like. That you respect someone you may not like. That you're holding in your heart someone's interests who you significantly disagree with. Someone who's wronged you. It's almost like I'll give you a sports analogy. My son plays basketball at Mount Carmel. He had a game yesterday. They did not like their opposition so much that the coach cried before the game as he was getting the team ready. But that doesn't mean that they hit the kids after the whistle, because they respected their competition so much. Even though they wanted to win, they wanted to play within the four corners of the game, within the rules of the game. There is a certain respect you have. And so what Dr. King is saying, hey, we changed the rules for school desegregation in 1954. The Supreme Court came and gave it back to the states in 1955 with all deliberate speed. And so today we still have school districts where desegregation has not happened. 70 years later. He's saying, hey, we fought for the Voting Rights Act, but we still have these laws that make it difficult for Southerners to vote. We still have the Civil Rights Act, but we still have these gaps in health care, these gaps in fair housing, these gaps in education, these gaps in college admissions, these gaps in professional services. And so he said, hey, it seems to me, he said, this is part of the reasons for the riots in Watts and the marches in Chicago, that African Americans were tired of waiting. The legislation wasn't enough because of the interpretation of the legislation. You got to remember, when Dr. King was coming up, lynchings were an after-church activity. After Christians went to church, they would hang a Negro, burn a Negro, cut off his parts, take pictures, and offer postcards, and sell the parts as souvenirs. That was in the 60s, y'all. That wasn't so long ago. That's the time that Dr. King had. That was normal Southern behavior. And he said, I still can't denigrate the person that defiles a man like that. That changing the law alone is not enough for sustaining a system where we really want to end the concept of poverty. We really want to bridge the gap in fair housing. We really want one person, one vote. We really want equal access to education. It takes two sides. It may seem like beloved is something not machismo today, but the fact of the matter is, it's hard to like someone who did that to your uncle. It's hard to respect someone who did that to your mama. It's hard to forgive someone who's wronged you. It's interesting, I was thinking about people who tell me how committed they are to faith and committed they are to religion and committed they are to our movement and working with us. And the moment they're insulted, you know what they say? I'm out. I'm out. I ain't doing that no more. I'm out. The moment that they're slighted, you retreat to your corner. The moment you're slighted at work, you know what you do? You take an extra sick day. You use all your PTO. You kind of, you're aggressive on the insurance numbers about what you lost. You're taking more from the system because you feel the system owes you. And that is what Dr. King said is the problem. So that's why it takes an absolute changing of our minds and our hearts to make it work, because we're not lacking because we don't have efforts. Many of us, even in this room, work 2 and 3 jobs. I work 4 or 5 jobs myself. It is not my effort that's preventing me from having health care. It's policy. It's not my effort that I can't pay for my home. It's policy. It's not my effort that I can't afford my education and my health care. It's policy. And so we must have the strength to mobilize people to change laws to affect policy. And that requires a lot of love in your heart to mobilize people who are generally pretty comfortable to change policy to create a foundation beneath which no American should fall. I just wanted to offer you that as you think about the beloved community. So that's what Rainbow Push is working on right now. When Reverend Jackson saw in 1984 a strong Southern bloc and strong Reaganism all over the country, he said, hey, to beat Reagan, we have to take the Senate back. And so his work of voters, in 1986, they took the Senate back, turned the Senate from Republican to Democrat. And so today, you say there's nothing you can do about an autocratic president. You have to register and you have to vote. At the local level, at the county level, and at the national level, and take the Senate back. You can't drop your rod as Moses did it first. My father would say that rod will turn into a snake and go to Washington, D.C. and bite you. You have to pick up your snake, which you think is a curse, and raise it up, hold it as a blessing, and open your Red Sea. That's enough for me tonight. That's what that... Let's open the bar for another few minutes. All right. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you, man. I'll shake your hand first. Thank you.
So, no batteries. It's a charger. So it stops. I'll take care of it. Thank you.